Hello and welcome to the program. Well, it's been a whirlwind of political drama in Benue State. In just a matter of days, the House of Assembly has seen a speaker resign, a suspension handed down, and a new speaker sworn in. The House of Assembly has suspended its former speaker, Hyacinth Dajo, for 3 months, barely 2 days after he resigned from office. Dajo, who stepped down citing good faith and the interest of the state, was suspended on Tuesday during plenary over allegations that he attempted to impeach Governor Hyacinth earlier. The suspension followed a motion moved by a member representing Kian State constituency, Turner Shimawa, and seconded by James Omoru from Upper State constituency. The new Speaker now of the House, that's Alfred Mbaga, who presided over the session, ruled on the motion and reviewed the suspension period from 6 months to 3 months. I recall that Mbaga, who had led a group of 4 lawmakers in a bid to impeach the former Speaker, was among those suspended for 3 months on Friday, August 22. However, during an emergency meeting presided over by the Deputy Speaker, Lami Ogeyi, the Majority Leader, Sate Tise, moved a motion for the recall and a forgiveness of the suspended members. The House also adopted Hyacinth Dajo's resignation letter and immediately moved to elect Mbaga as new Speaker. Dajo's resignation and Alfred Mbaga's emergence as the new Speaker of the Benue State House of Assembly shortly after his suspension has sparked reactions, with observers describing the development as both politically dramatic and indicative of deeper tensions within the legislature. Political affairs analyst Franklin Onoben is my guest on the program to discuss this further. Mr. Onoben, thank you very much for sparing time. Very interesting development in Benue State. But let me start by asking what you make of Hyacinth Dajo's resignation as Speaker of the State House of Assembly, followed so quickly by his suspension. Coincidence or calculated politics?
Well, any keen observer in Nigeria will know that nothing happens by coincidence. It seems like I would lean towards calculated political drama, if you will permit me to use that. Calculated because if we follow the series of events that has led up to this, one will see that there are forces outside the house that is playing or pushing the buttons behind the scene. Just like what has happened in Rivers State, that also led to the state of emergency that we have currently on in the state, and that has also happened in many other states in Nigeria. Benue State is becoming embroiled in political drama, as the case may be. So the Speaker, saved from an impeachment, quickly suspended 4 members who were, as the reports have them, moving to impeach him. And then 2 days after, the Speaker resigned, saying that it was in good faith with the best interest of the Legislative House. And then we also then saw that the person who was suspended for moving an impeachment notice for against the Speaker at the time was now brought back into the House and then elected as Speaker, only for the same person who was saved from impeachment, who everybody thought that they have made peace, there is amicable solution to the whole drama, to now be suspended for whatever reason. I don't think this is coincidental. Something untoward is playing the game, and if we watch keenly, we may be able to point fingers at where this whole drama is coming from.
Well, one would wonder why the Assembly now would suspend the Speaker just 2 days after accepting his resignation. The Assembly, now led by Alfred Mbaga, has linked Dajo to an alleged plot to impeach Governor Hyacinth earlier. Now, how credible do you think these allegations are?
In politics, you don't need credible evidence, or you don't need anything to be credible to take actions. We are in Nigeria, and we have seen this play out over and over again. All you need is an allegation, and that is what it takes for people to run to town or for anything to happen. For instance, we don't know if it was credible that the Speaker at the time, that's Dajo, was to be impeached when the first 4 were suspended. And now those 4 have been reinstated and one of them elected as Speaker. So we don't know, again, if there is credibility to the story or to the allegation that this same person that is now suspended, who was the former speaker, is moving to, suspend or impeach the governor. We know that one person, no matter the office he holds in the legislative house, cannot impeach a governor. The process for impeaching a governor or an executive elected officer in Nigeria, be it the president or the governor, is a tedious one. It's not something that can be hashed and fermented in one day. So for anybody to say that the now suspended member, because he's no longer a speaker, Dajo, was moving to impeach the governor, is for me is laughable, because that should have been the case from the beginning. But that was not what we heard. He was, he prevented an impeachment move against him and then resigned for whatever reasons that we have not been told, but in his own words, in good faith, for the best interest of the legislative house, and then brought back the persons that was moving to impeach him, elected one of them, supported him, they both embraced, and then claimed that all is well, only for us to hear that this same person is moving or is plotting to impeach the governor. How true can that be? So what I know from the stories that have been making the rounds is that there are some persons that were nominated by the governor and passed to the House for confirmation by the House. And one of them, a professor of law, and then maybe a few others. And the speaker then, who, Dajo, at the time he was a speaker, refused to clear them. So maybe, if we are not mistaken, maybe this is one of the reasons why he was eased out, because immediately after the the former suspended member, now speaker, was reinstated, those persons have been cleared and then moved for confirmation into office. So I think the executive have a hand in what is going on in the House. Maybe the House is trying to prove a bit stubborn in terms of the persons that the governor wants to have as his commissioners or aides, and this speaker was not yielding to play ball, and then they had to remove him so that the House can do the bidding of the executive governor.
So do you then see Hyacinth Dajo's resignation as a strategic retreat aimed at de-escalating tensions within the House? Because, of course, we do not know the full details of the internal wrangling. So would you say that this is just to ease tensions?
It's possible. Maybe as a gentleman, he decided to not continue to heat up the politics. Just like I said, maybe there is the rift between the legislative house and the executive office. And we know that at the center of these two will be the two heads of both arms of government, which is the speaker at the time and the governor. Now, to de-escalate tension, maybe, just maybe, they have met outside the cameras and agreed that, okay, why not step down and allow sleeping dogs lie? Let the state not go up in further imbroglio added to some of the issues that we already have of Benue State in the news. And one would think that that gentleman's or gentlemanly agreement will solve the problem. But as we are witnessing, as we are observing now, it doesn't seem like that has paid out. Maybe his willingness to play ball has now been seen as weakness, so to speak, because no sooner had he resigned from the office of speaker, now they have moved to now suspend him from the House. We saw what happened here in Lagos when the State Assembly suspended or impeached, as the case may be, the speaker at the time, Mudashiru Obasa, when he was not in town. And the speaker did not take it lying low. A lot of persons pointed finger to the governor as being the one orchestrating the game, but he denied it. And then we knew how all the drama played out, only for the speaker to be reinstated, and all is well today. So sometimes when some persons decide in politics to play it cool, the opposing party may see it as a weakness. and then choose to use that as an advantage against him. Maybe that is what is playing out. Initially, he may have taken that step to de-escalate tension, but now he has been suspended. The question then is, what will he do next? Is he going to fight back? Is he going to spill? Is he going to open the secrets that they have, discussed outside the cameras? What exactly will be his next game? So we are all, keen observers. We are watching to see how this whole drama will play out eventually.
Let's take a quick pause, Mr. Onoben, and when we return, we'll continue the conversation. Do stay with us. The program will be back shortly. Welcome back. Let's continue our conversation on the recent political issues in Benue State. Benue State House of Assembly. Mr. Franklin Onoben is back with us. Mr. Onoben, let's now switch now to this swift reversal from suspension to speakership shortly. Well, in such a short space of time in Alfred Mbaga's case, which of course has raised questions about political maneuvering or internal power play in the House. Mbaga himself had reportedly led other lawmakers to impeach Dajo while he was Speaker. Now, does this in any way undermine the credibility of the legislature?
Not exactly. Not exactly. So it is the nature of the legislative house. The speaker of any legislative house, be it at the state level, at the local level, or even at the federal level, is only first among equals. He holds or she holds that position at the behest of their colleagues. So when the House is inaugurated, it is part of the legislative duty upon inauguration to elect somebody to be a speaker, or as the case may be in the Senate House, the president of the Senate. Whenever their colleagues feel that they no longer have confidence in the leadership of that person that holds that office, it is part of democracy, it is part of politics to, when they form a quorum, to say, we no longer want you to lead us, and then they can bring that person down. This is one of the positions I held when the Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly was impeached, Mudashiru Obasa, right honorable as the case may be. So if his colleagues, majority of them, say, we no longer want you to lead us, it is the duty of the members to act in that stead and bring down the person they have elected to lead them. So if, for instance, in the case of Dajo, his colleagues say that they don't want him to lead, if they form a quorum and there is a unanimous agreement, they can bring him down. But in this case, what we saw is that they quickly isolated 4 members of the House and suspended them. So one will think that those 4 members are the only ones who were moving for that impeachment. Maybe, just maybe, they didn't have the backing of their colleagues. So if they did, it will not be easy to just isolate the 4 of them. So what I am reading in this whole drama is possibly, this is my personal opinion, maybe because of the persons that the governor wanted to have as his commissioners or as his aides, that the speaker or the assembly led by Dajo at the time was not giving clearance. The governor may have whispered to Berger and a few others, let's remove this person so that I can have my way. But they quickly pushed them aside. Now, if we fast forward to today, the same man who was suspended have been reinstated and have now become the speaker, and those persons that Dajo prevented, as the reports have it, from being cleared have now been cleared. The Dajo himself have been suspended. So that is why I think that we cannot put this past a bigger picture, a bigger drama playing from outside the legislative house. So it is my my humble opinion that the executive arm of government has a hand in this. Maybe it is undermining the legislative house, as we see in the case in almost every state in Nigeria, where the executive arm seem to have pocketed the legislative arm of government. That is always the case everywhere. The executive arm, which controls the majority of the state finances, seem to be in control of all other arms of government against the tenets of democracy. In every standing democracy, the legislature is supposed to be the first arm of government, because that is actually where you have the voices of the people that are the first in office in every democracy. But what we see is the reverse of the case. The executive take the leading role, and they determine who runs the House, they determine who runs the judiciary. So if they don't play their game, they find a way to remove them and put the persons that will be a stooge to the governor or the president, as the case may be. And whilst it is democratic for the House to say, we don't want you anymore to be our speaker, we want to bring you down and bring up another person. But when this is done and it is suspected that a force outside the House is influencing that move, then we can conclude to say that indeed it is undermining the legislative house or the legislative arm of government, which is supposed to be another arm of government that checkmates the executive. But when the executive is the one dictating to the House or to the legislator how things should be done, then that is no longer democracy. Something else is at play in this regard.
Well, no doubt, very interesting events in Benue State House of Assembly. You look at what has been playing out so far. What does this drama reveal about the level of stability among the lawmakers and even with the governor, Hyacinth Alia? Could this event signal a growing rift between the legislature and Alia's administration?
Oh, yes, it does. So maybe not to a very large extent, but it shows that like I said in my previous inserts, the governor may be pulling his political weight. The state has not been in the best of terms in the news of recent. 2027 is coming. Maybe the governor is mulling the idea of running again, or maybe the governor just wants to have a firm grip of affairs of the state. Maybe there are people he wants to work with him, that the House is not giving him the support that he needs to get those people on board, because we know that some offices must be cleared by the legislature before they can take up political appointments in the states. Maybe that is what is at play here. Maybe it's 2027. Maybe it's the governor trying to show that I can also play this game as well as any other politician out there, not forgetting that the governor is a reverend gentleman. Maybe he is now showing that he can also play politics as many others, and he seems to be succeeding, judging by the Nigerian political, scenery, because the ability of a governor or of the executive office holder to control other arms of government is what we use in Nigeria to judge the political might of whoever sits in the executive office. Sadly so, but that is probably what is playing out. So we, like I said earlier, we are going to observe this keenly and see where it is playing, where it is tending towards. Maybe it is 2027, maybe it is just for the governor to have those that he needs to work with him, or maybe it's just for him to show that I am also as strong as any other political office holder out there. We will all be alive and well by God's grace to see how this all continues to unfold.
So as it stands now, in your opinion, what precedent does this suspension set for legislative freedom in Benue State? And let's also add Nigeria to that equation. What does it say about, legislative freedom?
Well, like I've said before now, we cannot say there is anything like legislative freedom in Nigeria. Unfortunately so. We observe in the Western world, where we have copied our democracy or our style of government from. Typically in the West, the Great Britain and the US, for instance, where, until of recent, especially in the US, where the legislature can call the bluff of a president and do what they feel is right for the country and for the people. But unfortunately, we have not had the same in Nigeria. In the 9th and the 10th Assembly, you will hear statements like, whatever Buhari brings to this house is good for Nigeria, or whatever Tinubu brings is good for Nigeria. And it is the same in almost every state of the country, where there is a rift in the legislature and the executive, as the case may be. You will see how the drama plays out. For instance, what happened in the Lagos State House of Assembly, we know how a lot of people speculated that the speaker was saved by powers higher than the office of the governor. I don't want to call names, but we all know, we are in Nigeria, we all know how that happened. Some people speculating that the suspension or the impeachment was orchestrated from the State House, but the powers in Aso Rock saved the speaker. So all of these things goes to say that we do not have legislative freedom. The legislature and indeed the judiciary in Nigeria, they operate at the behest of the executive arm of government. And this is not how it ought to be. The Government 101, Elementary Government 101, teaches us that the three arms of government are equal and they operate to checkmate each other. The executive, the legislature make laws, the executive enforce those laws, and the judiciary interprets those laws. And where one steps out of line, you need the other to bring them back to line. But we don't see that playing out in Nigeria. It is always the executive that determines who sits at the helm of affairs, either at the executive, at the legislative or judicial arms. And even when they don't outrightly determine that, they use finance to hold them by the jugular, so that the persons that they want to play their game is the one that they support in terms of releasing budgetary allocations. And this is not good for Nigeria. If we are to practice real democracy, as the tenets of democracy stipulates, we must find a way to make sure that our legislative arm are strong or even stronger than the executive, because that is where the voice of the people are truly heard. The place where democracy is really, truly represented or manifested is at the legislative level. And only when the legislature is truly free and independent of the executive will Nigeria begin to witness real democracy, real growth in terms of our political developments. Until we get to that level where we indeed witness legislative freedom, we have not started experiencing true governance in Nigeria. This is my humble opinion.
Well, Benue State is certainly a focus as we wait and see what happens next in the coming days. Franklin Onoben, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you very much for your time. Well, that's all on this episode of the program. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time.